Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show, and welcome to a little paint and chill stream tonight. My special guest Bo will be here. George will probably be here next week. And George, if you're watching this, hopefully we'll actually give out some painting tips from the master. That's Bo. He's a phenomenal painter, and hang on every word he says when it comes to both painting and prepping. Uh, he'll be here shortly. I was fiddling around with trying to find the instructions for the Dungeons and Lasers download, assembly instructions, because Dungeons and Lasers can no longer print them because Europe is assholes. Bo, what's happening, man?
Oh, wait, you said that, how am I coming in? Everything okay?
Oh yeah, five
Want
by
to make
five.
sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
All
you're good.
right. So you said that, yeah, Dungeons and nobody, I think the only European company that still prints instructions is maybe Games Workshop. I mean, I just got a bunch of stuff from Mantic the other day and there were no instructions in it.
Yeah, I despise that. It sucks. There's plenty of trees. Chop them down, make paper. Shut the hell up.
Well, no,
Because
the paper instructions cost more than the minis.
yeah, I don't care.
I care if it increases the cost of the mini box of minis by 100%. I care.
They're making bank no matter no matter what company it is. It doesn't cost a dollar to make this sprue of minis. Uh, just give us some damn instructions, because someday those instructions and those websites will be down. Those companies will be defunct, but there'll be boxes out there with no instructions.
Right, but I mean, like these mantic zombies are, well, I've been kit bashing them. Like that arm is not a mantic arm. That's from uh, War Games Atlantic kit. But I mean, they're pretty. Like you take the body, you put the leg on the base, you
Yeah,
put the body on the leg, you put
I,
the head on the base.
I'm working with eyeball abominations. There is no rhyme or reason. You need the instructions for these crazy ass things. You also need a freaking magnifying glass to be able to see the piece and part number. It like the Tarrasque, that giant freaking thing. I had to put it together backwards. At one point, I was building and building, and I don't know where this piece goes. I can't make it fit, and when
Well,
it fits beautifully.
Dungeons
But
and Lasers instructions always sucked. Like I tried to put together one of their Wolverine tanks,
Mhm.
and the whole thing ended up looking like something from that show Nailed It, because the instructions were so incredibly bad that when I put together it looked nothing like the box.
Really, mine turned out okay.
If you want to do the instructions, no, I think that Bandai does the best instructions ever for their
Oh
model
yeah,
kits.
oh yeah. What are you doing,
Their
Bo?
instructions are, if you've ever put together even a complicated Gundam, the instructions are perfect. The only way you could screw up a Gundam is if you screw it up.
Yeah, yeah. And I did that with one because the instructions aren't in English or even Jap. Well, maybe they are in Japanese, but
I'm sure they're in Japanese.
there was a piece that I glued that I wasn't supposed to glue
Right,
because it was for putting a weapon, like a holster kind of thing. And from that moment on, it was permanent. But I
right.
love Gundams. I've got like 5 or 6 of them here that I've never. I've opened the box, looked in it, and like, yeah, I don't have time for this. But I keep buying them because they're
No, they're the $20 high grade kits. If you glue and paint them, are a fun afternoon. If you've got 4 or 5 hours where you've got nothing going on, and you get one of the $20 high kits from like Hobby Lobby,
yep.
and just sit down with a good pair of nippers, and some sanding sticks or some 800 grit sandpaper, and then you glue the parts that really should be glued, and get everything really smooth. And then fire at the airbrush and paint it. That
I didn't
paint
even
goes
open
on.
this one.
They airbrush
Still got the
so well because they're so, use like the Turbo Dork or color shifting paints on them, and you paint them like a mini, and they are just so much fun and so cheap. And you
especially with the
know,
Hobby Lobby discount, 40% off. I mean, you can't beat
yeah,
that.
Well,
You
they
know,
have a very limited number of kits at that price. I usually go down to MRS Hobbies in Sandy, Utah when I want kits that aren't, and that the half a dozen kits that Hobby Lobby keeps in stock. Now, if you want to have duplicates of like the whatever the bad guy one is called, I'm not really a Gundam guy, so I couldn't tell you. I've got like three or four of them down here in my cabinet of opportunity that I just pull out when I would need a palate cleanser. But so, what's the topic for tonight?
I told everybody in the description that we are going to talk about civil unrest because I thought
Civil unrest.
that's the most likely of all the really crazy things that could happen right now with all the protesting and people being stupid and blocking the highways and other dumb stuff. That's the most likely scenario someone like us might bump into. Other than things that are specifically local. Like here, we've got brush fires or earthquakes. Things like that. Other states have their own individual sort of
There are
has.
there are a few things you can do that I think a lot of people don't do. Um, I think that people that get caught in riots tend to put themselves in those situations. Um, I think that if you live in any appreciable sized town, you know where the riots are going to be.
That's fair.
I don't know, like major intersections near universities, major intersections near hospitals, um, certain neighborhoods. Uh, I mean,
Museums.
where were the Watts riots? Both times they were in Watts, which is a neighborhood in Los Angeles. Um, and then don't go to those places.
Yeah. There's that. But
Uh,
there's a lot of us like I find that a lot of our worries are not for ourselves being men, but our wives, girlfriends, etc. They're driving and suddenly they find themselves in a situation, and their first response is to call us. Or instead of calling the police or something like that, they call us. What do we do? What do I do? I can't tell you how many times I've had that sort of situation happen, and I find that being able to tell someone like that, whether it's your girlfriend, your wife, your mom, mother-in-law, what to do, clearly and calmly would be
I
helpful.
for people, okay, keep your radio on the local news. The local news, whether it's a local AM station or a university NPR station, something that's going to have up to the minute news, and pay attention. And if they say that there's a riot breaking out and you're in that neighborhood, keep the radio on the news. It's just smart.
Yeah,
Because
you'd
they're
be
going to tell
surprised
you
how
if there's a gas leak, if there's a water main broken, and especially those stations that do the news, traffic, and weather together every 10 minutes on the nines. You know what I'm talking about? You've got
sort
one
of
of those stations that, the big 50,000 watt AM stations. Every major city's got one because they're going
sure.
to update the news and traffic, especially during drive time. They're going to update that. They're going to update that regularly. Two, don't stop if there's a riot. Don't stop. Keep your car moving and
Well,
turn around.
certain locations do have different laws about those things, which
Well, but you can see it coming. You're going to see it coming. If you pay attention, you're going to see it coming. Don't stop. Turn around. Turn around. Go the opposite direction. I'm not talking about running people over. I'm talking about okay. There's a pet peeve. Anytime someone uses the word or the term, it's two words, situational awareness. I want to slap the dog shit out of them because how do you aware situationally? You can't. I can't teach you to aware situationally. So I don't
no,
like to use the word situational awareness because it's one of those things that is not what's on the tin. I can tell you to pay attention. I can tell you to think critically. I can tell you to keep your radio on, but I can't tell you to aware situationally.
No,
It's it's not a
I think the
it's not a real
expression
thing.
I think the expression "keep your head on a swivel" is far more understandable to the layperson.
So what I um, pay attention to politics. You know what's going on in your area. Where's my um,
Well,
and
unfortunately, there's a lot of people I know that have become intentionally ignorant because they don't like it, they hate it. You say the word politics and they immediately go into a panic or have an anxiety attack because
sure.
they're woefully uneducated or ignorant, and it's their own darn fault. I mean, I was there. I used to not give two craps about any of that stuff.
Well,
But as my son got older, I realized someone's got to pay attention to these things and keep abreast of situations that could change for the worse. I've always been a prepper since way back, and that was well and good to a point. But if you don't know what's going on or what's coming down the pike politically, especially in the last decade or so, things have gotten so politically charged. People you know have taken sides more drastically or more emphatically than ever before. So kind of being aware of what's going on, just to me, had to become part and parcel of a prepper.
I
Various events have caused people to spurg out, and knowing that there's a thing going on. Like for example, my wife, she when we thought we were going to go to war with Iran like a year or two ago, and we didn't, or whenever it was, maybe it was 4 years ago, and we didn't. She's like, well, she came on. We got to go to the store and get some rice and beans in case of an emergency. And I'm like, I've been saying that for
you
15
eat
years.
right, man. I'm not eating right. If you don't eat, does she eat rice and beans regularly?
Yeah. They're Mexican, so of course they do.
Then they should already have rice and beans regular. They should already have a supply of rice and beans if
There's a
you eat
big
them.
difference between a 2 pound bag until the next time they go to the store and 50 pounds in 5 pound
Uh,
buckets.
just it's. I like. I'm a big fan of realistic. Make you when you make your threat matrix. And for your newer viewers, a threat matrix is a grid, and on one axis you lay out the possibility of anything from very likely to 1 in a trillion likely. And then on your other axis, you lay out um, least severe to end of the world severe. And you take every disaster that you can think of and you plot it on those axes. And I only prepare for the things that are both likely and severe. I'm not preparing for asteroid strikes because there hasn't been one. I'm
And
not
what can you
prepared
do?
for volcanic eruptions in Utah because there hasn't been one. But I am prepared for things like losing my job. That's a pretty distinct possibility at any given day. Anybody can lose their job. So,
Yep.
what's the most likely and the most severe? So, make it a generic prep. Okay, so you can have most of the same preps for your car breaking down as you do for civil unrest while you're in your car. Most
Sure.
of that's the same stuff. You have a couple extra bottles of water. You have a bag. You have some cash. You have a sweatshirt. You have a prepaid cell phone, something like that, and you put it all in your bag. And now you're ready for both your car breaking down, or getting caught in a blizzard for 2 days, or if there's a riot in your town. And whatever you have to add, again, that's up to you based on your situation, legality, how willing you are to train. I mean, are you willing to get a ham radio license and put a 2 meter slash 60 centimeter radio in your car, where even if the cell grid goes down, you can still get on the ham radio and call your family? I mean, that license costs like $20 and it's good for a decade. And that radio is like $200 plus installation. I mean, if you what are you willing to do? And if you're willing to do things like that, then that makes a difference. But you have to do what you can do realistically, what you're willing to prepare for, and to meet scenarios. The reason that I get really hung up on preparing for realistic things is I've seen people spend way too much money
And time.
on and time on things that aren't likely to happen. For example, if you have $20,000 in credit card debt, don't put a $5,000 natural gas generator in your backyard. You have to focus on what you can focus on. And I tell people that preparations should be um, measured and realistic. And so you talk about civil unrest. Yeah, we saw that during COVID, right? We saw
Mm-hmm.
riots. We depending on where you lived in the country. We had one, one here in downtown Salt Lake City in 2020, and there were some cop cars burned. I was actually out of town when that happened. I was in Las Vegas, um, actually taking a class for my own betterment at the time. I was doing some training, but but if you know where the riots are going to be, and you probably do, then you can do things that are realistic to prepare for those things. I mean, if because of your situation, people have different economic situations. If you live in downtown LA, Skid Row, then your preparations are going to look entirely different than someone who lives in Lickskillet, Arkansas. So you build your threat matrix for your civil unrest. If you're way out in the country and you're not near an interstate, civil unrest to you might just mean,
Power down.
well, maybe you got to turn on your generator for your well instead of running it off city power. And that's so, like, for me, um, and it depends on your work environment too. They have radio networks now that you can set up for your group. There are a couple of them. There's like what are
Sorry,
those
guys, I'm not
mesh
paying attention to the
mesh
chat.
networks. I tend to prefer the low tech.
Good, Judd.
If you do a 2 meter repeaters, if you remember like your local ARL club, um, then you're going to have access to all kinds of things, plus a whole different friend network, people that can help you out. And the news on a local 2 meter net travels fast. I mean, if you've got a 2 meter net set up in your car, and
I'm pretty sure we can't have ham radios here in California anymore.
yeah, you can. No, some of this they wanted to allocate some of the 60 centimeter bandwidth to emergency, like EMS.
React
I don't know if
channels.
that went through, but no. Ham radio is all regulated by the FCC. None of it's regulated by the state.
Oh, okay, cool.
It's actually illegal for the state to pass laws against the FCC. In fact, even if you're an HOA, if you live in an HOA and the HOA says you can't put up a radio antenna, you absolutely can. Covenants are not allowed to trump FCC regulations. The only thing that can
Well, we
limit the
shouldn't be
height
doing
of your
witches.
antenna mast is your proximity to an airport. But that's when the FAA and FCC butt up against each other.
Well, we shouldn't be. We shouldn't be. You know, dealing with witches anyways.
Wait, who's a witch?
We said covenant.
Oh, Covenant. Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah. You confused me for a second. Um,
blonde humor.
yeah, but sincerely, if you have an HOA that says you can't have a radio and a radio mast, you quote them chapter and verse of the FCC bylaws, and you tell them to pound sand. But that's a different animal. That's a whole hobby unto itself. It's not it could be an expensive hobby if you like to talk to Australia or talk to Japan, but that's really outside the scope of this show. But 2 meter/60 centimeter, or a single sideband, even 10 meter, or even citizen band, is perfect for local grid down scenarios. If you're going to deal with a situation like Hurricane Katrina, like that magnitude 7 or 8 earthquake they're all waiting for, or so that I mean that's earthquake preps. Earthquake preps are on my threat matrix because we in 2020 we, in addition to COVID lockdowns, we had multiple earthquakes, and we had one storm that produced hurricane force winds, was like knocking shingles off people's houses and knocking chain link fences over in the middle of Salt Lake City, Utah. It was like the end of the world here for a couple months. It was crazy.
That is
People's
kind of
houses, people's houses foundations damaged by the earthquakes.
crazy.
So those are things that you prepare for. I mean, if you have a house with a basement, maybe you prepare for broken pipes. If you have a sewer main break in your house, that's going to be expensive. How do you
Yeah,
prepare for that? Maybe you have money set aside in some kind of CD or mutual fund that's just for home repairs. Great prep. It's not
yeah.
sexy, but preps aren't sexy. People like they like the high speed low drag stuff. They want to go out and buy Benelli shotguns and level 4 body armor and 10,000 MREs, when really they'd probably be more suited to making an extra mortgage payment every year.
Mhm. Or having some of the simpler things like a stack of $1 bills and a stack of quarters.
There you go. Um, I'll give my favorite example. My father-in-law, God bless him, he died last year, but he always kept a little bit of cash, and he had a big Dodge diesel pickup truck because he had his own workshop and he was basically a tradesman, a specialized tradesman. But we had a really bad snowstorm one year, and he went to buy diesel, and the gas station close to his house, they had electricity, and the pumps worked, but their internet was down. And you know what you can't do with that internet? You can't take credit cards. They
Or
were turning away customers left and right from the gas station because they couldn't take money, but he always kept cash. So he whipped out, a couple of $50 bills and gassed up his diesel pickup truck, and they had enough diesel to get through the whole storm.
yep,
So I'm not saying keep a lot of cash. I'm saying keep 3 weeks worth of cash, 2 weeks worth of cash.
well, and not just the the dollar amount, but the denominations is hugely important as well, because there are a lot of places that will not take hundreds, will
Right,
not take fifties or over twenties. If you can go ahead and make exact change, they can't argue. It's like, oh, what, 1837? Okay, here's a 10, a 5, three ones, three quarters, etc. You can pay them. They can't, they pop the drawer and there you go. You're done, or whatever it is, even if it is a large amount of money, like say it's over $50, pay them in 20s. And, if you have to, tell them to keep the change. It's better than, you know, being turned away, because
yeah,
that cashier is going to be like, yeah, I'll take the overage at the end of the shift. I'm going to keep that $12. That's mine.
right,
You know what I mean?
right.
And which brings me to bribes. Be prepared to bribe people in places of low power in situations like that. You would be surprised. Uh, with the a $20 bill. Hey, let me through. A
I'll
50.
tell you. I'll tell you a story about that because what you call a bribe, I call a tip. When my wife and I were first, it was 20 years ago, but when my wife and I were first married, we went on our honeymoon, and I got about maybe $200 in $20 bills, and I wanted to see what $20 would get me. And so we went to the airport and we did the curbside check-in, and I think for maybe $10 a bag or $20 a bag. No, it was less than $20. I think it was $10 a bag. Didn't unsolicited, just put it in the skycap's hand. We literally got a ride on the back of a golf cart all the way to our gate, and we got our bags checked in at the gate. Okay, we got to the airport, We got off the airport, and they had a shuttle. We had a shuttle to the hotel. Another $20 to the driver of the bus. Got us to the front of the line when we got to the hotel. Another $20 to the bellhop, and another $20 to the concierge. Literally got our room upgraded to a mini suite for no extra charge. It was one of those, oh, Mr. Paint's Minis. It seems to me that your room was allowed to someone else. Can we upgrade you to a mini suite? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just for being
Money talks.
nice. It
Money
cost
talks.
it
Bullshit
might
walk.
be $50 now instead of 20, but okay.
Yeah.
Because
And
there's been a bit more inflation in the last 20 years.
right, and you know the old adage rings true, more true now than ever before. Time is money, and
Time
you
is
know
money.
you're on vacation. You know how wrecked could you have arrived at your room had you not dropped a couple of twenties along the way? You might have missed 6 8 hours of that hotel stay. You know, which could have screwed up your entire itinerary for the whole rest of the vacation, let's say, because you were waiting in line, standing in
And
line,
and
lugging your
cash so
own.
and cash talk. So it's an emergency.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying pass a bribe to a policeman because that might get you fed the hickory shampoo, you know. But um, but there are a lot of people that aren't policemen.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
don't
yeah,
call it.
but
It's not a bribe. It's a gratuity.
yeah, yeah. Judd was saying, Gentleman's Quarterly did a great article where a reporter did an experiment where a $20 gratuity was offered to various service workers.
That's an old article. That's the article that inspired me.
Huh, okay.
So unless they redid it again, yeah, it was. I used to read all those when I was a 20-year-old man. I used to read GQ and
Hey, what's
Men's
up,
Health
nerds?
and all those.
You want to
Uh,
come in and talk prep and paint? I can send you the link.
I've got a bunch of the mini barbed wire from
Army painter.
no, the one in Spain, Green
Uh,
Stuff World, Green
yeah,
Stuff
yeah.
World. And so
I
I'm wrapping it. I'm wrapping it around a toothpick. I'm gonna make a little concertina wire for this base I'm working on. Working on a. I've glued some plastic bones to it. So I got a monster skull and some wood chips, and then when I'm done, I'm going to glue on my. But I got to paint it. I've got to paint it. I didn't. I was going to prime it today. I didn't get to prime it, but I've got some texture paste on it, and then after I prime it and paint it, I'm going to do some colored UV resin. I'm going to make some radioactive
sludge.
sludge. Yeah, so
Nice.
I've some got some ink, some bright green ink, and I'm going to dye the UV resin with the ink, and then set up with my UV flashlight. Where is it? Is that it? That's ink, but that's not the right ink. I got evidently not oil based, alcohol inks work better with UV resin. There it is. It's it's
I've never experimented with any of the UV anythings.
well, I haven't either. So that's why we're doing it.
Nice.
Come on,
I
man.
still have I got a bundle of Army Painters barbed wire. Uh, it's got to be like 5 years now. I still haven't thought of anything to use it on. Mostly because I've mostly been painting fantasy stuff. I've got a squad of Terminator Gray Knights. Someone sent me that there's so there's so many choices and options for for purity seals and all kinds of little bells and whistles that,
Greeblies.
that
I love it.
I just like, oh, because I was like, if I use this one piece here, I can't use it there, and so all I've got on them is like uh, legs and one arm for all of them, and
With what I found with that is to avoid the analysis paralysis and to avoid
exactly,
the regret, the FOMO regret. You gotta just lean into it. You can't do it. You can't do it wrong. You can't do it wrong. Just do it. They're your minis. Just do it. So now I'm gonna just stretch this out a little tiny bit to make a nice mess.
That works. That works.
And then I'm just going to glue it. I'm just going to basically
Well,
just drop it
you know
on
what?
wherever I'm just going to.
I would have actually pulled out a scale mini to the scale because aren't they like the equivalent of like usually like
Comes in
two
different
feet?
sizes. I
Oh,
mean, the
okay.
kind they put on fences. Like go down to the county jail. You'll see rolls of concertina wire that are like 6 feet tall,
Uh-huh.
and then the rolls of concertina wire on top of chain link fences are only like a foot.
18 inches. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, I'm not trying to, and not only that, but I'm trying to make it look ruined. I'm not trying to make it look like it's spread across the field. I'm trying to make it look like it's a piece of concertina wire
Mhm.
that's just left on a battlefield.
You know what I used to use for back in the day for my 6 millimeter Epic Space Marine games? I would take the spring out of like a Bic lighter or a cheap lighter or a ballpoint pen. I think it was a ballpoint pen actually. They had those springs, for the click, action. I would just
Yeah,
take those out and just stretch them out a little bit, get a little toothpick or another piece of wire, staple them down, and it was perfect. You didn't have to, have any more detail than that. Just, maybe paint them black, dry brush them crappily with silver, and
yeah.
it worked. I still
And
have
then I
some of
just
them.
put a couple of drops of ultra thin super glue across the top and let it just run down.
Mhm.
Just to
I'm
try to.
expecting a mini for Brian's Halloween challenge. That works because I looked high and low. I mean, everywhere for a good, not hokey, not cheesy, headless horseman miniature. Because
Probably the 3D print one, I'm sure.
I found a guy on Etsy, and I found like the way I picture it. Because like nothing says Halloween to me. Uh, than more than the headless horseman, to the point I one year for Halloween took a pumpkin and I carved it, but I actually carved out the bottom instead of the top, so I literally wear the pumpkin as a mask. I put on like a red ski mask underneath it, so my hair and everything didn't get completely grossed out by wet pumpkin.
Huh?
And I had this really cool cloak and hood and everything else. The double breasted shirt and the whole bit, and it was the best costume that year. Because when I was a kid, that cartoon from Disney was still, even though it was a cartoon, was you know kind of scary.
Oh yeah.
And to me it just it rolls everything into without going into vampires and all that Hollywood crap, werewolves and stuff that I've never bumped in a werewolf. Vampires maybe, that's a completely different story for another time. um Dated a couple of them, unfortunately. And nothing really just screams Halloween like you know we see pumpkins every year, everywhere we go during this month, and the headless horseman with the pumpkin, the whole bit. It's just for me, it just sort
Right.
of ties it all together. And so I finally found a really, really good one because there's a lot of cheesy ones or ones that are too simple or there's no actual pumpkin in the hand, which it was key. It had to have a pumpkin like he's throwing it Green Goblin style, and everything else. The
Not
uniform.
much.
I never use that stuff. I've got some right there. I never use it.
Dude, for gluing down basing bits on especially the 1 inch bases.
Depends on what kind of material I'm using. I either just use with, white glue or super glue.
It basically is white glue, but it's got a big wide mouth so you can put a brush in it.
Uh-huh.
Um, I also have
I do use it
I also
for
have
like
wood glue.
if I'm working on with styrofoam or XPS, and I need to glue it together or coat it for stability. I'll use that. But I found that with most of my projects, whether it was the bridge, the gargoyle bridge, or the volcanic island, I used so much regular freaking paint that it was not really necessary with so many coats of dry brushing and base brushing and all that, that it's like one more step, one more expense. Yeah, no thanks.
Well, when I do my 1 inch when I do 1 inch minis, I mean I do 1 inch bases, and I'm trying to get at least enough of a theme that I can I just need a garbage brush. Garbage. Oh, not to change subject, but Travis said the best preps are the ones you have to keep living as if nothing unusual happens. I
The
knew an
risk,
engine. I knew a systems engineer in Texas, and that guy had money. He had serious money, and he had his whole house set up. And this was, but in the years before Tesla walls, when having a battery backup was having an inverter, especially, was significant investment. But he had his house set up such that if the power went out, he wouldn't even notice it. Wouldn't even know if the power went out. It was that seamless. Air
that's nice.
conditioners running, fine. Air conditioners running, and that's to me that's kind of aspirational.
Sure.
And I'm looking at
But it's
getting there
also,
in this house in the next
but isn't it
year.
also a little, a little dangerous in the long term?
There's a famous firearms trainer named Clint Smith. Clint Smith said, "If I own a gun, people will call me paranoid." I say that's ridiculous because if I own a gun, what do I have to be paranoid of?
Uh huh.
So if I have the only house on the block with the power on, it's like that episode of the Twilight Zone, right?
You're right. That's
You
what I
know who
was thinking.
you learn who your friends are. No,
Well,
I
that's what I
intend.
mean because the situation could be bad, but like say it's only bad for like 4 or 5 days, and you're sitting pretty, and
Oh heck yeah,
your
I'm gonna be sitting
neighbors
pretty.
are knocking at the door. Can I use your freezer? Can I get some water? Things like that. And depending on how much of an a hole you are, or how much of a sucker you are, you could end up in a whole lot of trouble after the emergency.
Well, but at the same time, those people, if anyone reacts violently towards you, then they're the ones that are the buttholes after the emergency.
Well, I mean, if Joey Bag of Donuts didn't prep and he's got 4 kids and one of them's in diapers and he's asking for help, and I tell him go pound rocks, you know
What can you? Is it possible for you to put enough away that you can help? Wouldn't that be great if you could?
yeah,
How great would it be if you had enough? If you had enough to share, you don't have to share everything.
yeah.
But I mean, you were talking about beans and rice. What if I had? Okay, let's just lay it out. What if I had a big Berkey water filter with enough of the black filters to purify 50,000 gallons of water, and then like right now, because it's not an emergency, what if I laid up 500 pounds of beans and rice, sugar, evaporated milk,
Flour.
and now what if a simple recipe? What if when the power goes out, I set up my gas ring and I make like 5 gallons of rice pudding and feed everyone on the block rice pudding? Are you a hero or a villain?
Depends.
Well, I mean, think about it. You've done what you could,
Hmm.
and you've made simple preps now that could pay dividends in the future.
Yep. Yeah, I meant to ask you something when you're talking about that. I've got a water filter that says it will work for like literally like 100,000 gallons.
Okay,
Mind you, it's just like it's a small little affair that you could fit in a trench coat pocket. For Christ's sake, it's not
right. But
a
how?
big.
But those there are some like that that'll filter a lot. But how fast do they filter water?
Oh yeah, it doesn't look like it would be very rapid. I'm sure you could modify it, or tell people to freaking be patient, and it only works so damn fast. You know, but it's definitely enough for the 4 of us. Once the beans hit, I'm guessing villain. What's up, Cal? Yeah, I had to bolt from that show because I had already made plans, and then George and Dave told me that hey, there's a show on Dungeon Delvers. I'm like, well, Nobody told me. I do a regular Thursday thing. I even postponed it a little so that Bo could join us at the beginning, and that I could watch as much of that and throw in some helpful comments and whatnot. Are you going to back that Kickstarter, Cal, or did you already?
The Arduino Kickstarter?
Yeah.
I'm probably not. As much as I would like to, I'm a little overextended. And
Um,
the thing is, I just don't know if how often I'm going to get to play it. I'm at
well,
the point in
I
my life
Art
where I
of the,
almost
wait,
have more games.
let me break it down for you real simply. The Arduin stuff, it's beautiful, it's gorgeous, it's nice, but what they're offering is like their particular Arduin stuff is like a collector kind of thing. You can get all that information, everything that's there, in another format elsewhere. This stuff is limited, as far as I know. I don't know how much or whatever, but it's more, it's made a little sturdier. But you can get the stuff from Emperor's Choice, the other stuff for Arduin.
I have a complete set of the red books.
Then you're not missing out. Now, when it comes to Barrows and Borderlands, you can also get all that stuff from Matt, from his company, which is a nice, fun little game of kind of uh, Dying Earth meets Gamma World meets White Box D&D. It looks like it could be a lot of fun, real simple, really weird, really gonzo, that kind of thing. I'm getting a bunch of all of it. I've already read the PDF. It sounds fun. There's a couple of things I would change, just because I'm me, and I do things. But it's not a cheap Kickstarter. It's not the most expensive, and they should have made a few other different tiers so people who don't want Barrows and Borderlands can get it, or people who don't want Arduin can get it, like that. But they didn't. It's like you got to buy all three things, and I have two out of three of those things already, and but that didn't stop me because it's you know it's them. If it was anybody else, I'd be like kick rocks. I just speaking of which, I accidentally backed the Deadlands Kickstarter, the new Deadlands,
Yeah.
because I thought it was a bunch of new stuff, and I didn't know until after I'd already been billed and paid that they rewrote the history and took the Confederacy out. Not that
Right.
I'm a huge Confederacy fan, but I don't want them taking shit out because they're woke or they think and believe a
You can't
certain.
rewrite history. They did the Chaosium did the same thing with a lot of the Call of Cthulhu stuff. Not the core rules. I mean, as far as I understand, seventh edition Call of Cthulhu rules are supposed to be really clean and smooth,
I thought you were
but
number two, Cal.
the big adventures, the Max of Nelly Hotep and Horror on the Orient
Okay.
Express and what's it called, Mountains of
Yeah,
Madness.
any company that does that crap, instantly irritates me to no end, and I'll probably just end up eBaying it as soon as it gets here because I already have the original. I thought they were adding some new cool stuff, not taking away some old, just basic stuff. I mean, who does it hurt? You know what I mean? All the people involved in the Civil War are dead. All the victims are dead. All the children of the victims are dead. Okay, it's all over.
They'll talk about things like generational scarring and that.
Suck
I
my.
can't tell you, I can't tell another person how they feel. You feel the way you feel. You own your own pain, and that's cool. But at the same time, they've become very
Weak.
no overbearing because they tell me how I have to feel, but I don't tell them how they have to feel. Why can't they? Why can't we all just do our own thing?
Well,
Um,
because the same reason we have HOAs. People like to get into other people's business and tell them what to do because it makes them feel powerful or in charge or less the loser that they truly are, regardless of actual status.
bricks, bricks,
I
little
go to see
tiny
the
resin
boss.
bricks. I like to add one or two bricks to my
Yeah,
just
yeah,
one or two.
Judd. I backed the Kickstarter twice, so I'll be uh, getting to enjoy that doubly so. I also already ordered the hardcover of the main game because I don't plan on opening the box sets because I'll probably give them away because it's like with Savage Swords. Like as soon as I got the main book, I knew instantly I am going to trash this book by gaming with it. I need the hardcover, so I went and just ordered the hardcover. Damn it! And so I did the same thing with Matt and got him to send me a hardcover of the game uh, just to help a brother out. And I liked what I saw, and there was enough stuff in there that I could use it for like my D&D game that I'm running with Cal and other folks on Sundays. And it gamers like me would get to a point where literally like everything we read gets somehow you know mixed into the soup of our brain, and we just have all kinds of weird ideas that we try to incorporate into our game. And B&B was no slouch on that department. It gave me you know let's just say it only gave me 5 ideas. That's still 5 ideas I might not have come up with elsewhere.
There it is. Basing binder.
For
It's like a really ultra thin glue solution that I put on top of the basing to lock it down when I
I,
don't want to use.
we were talking earlier about a different kind of binder, your prepper binders. I thought that might have been what you meant.
Oh, I have. I used to teach. I used to teach emergency preparedness to church groups and at prep fairs. And somewhere around here, I've got a cardboard box full of handouts and the color code sheets that you put in your window to let people know that if there's people
Mhm.
hurt there,
Yeah.
or if there's a gas leak or stuff like that. I've got a whole bunch of those that I used.
Do you still watch prepper videos?
No, because I found I preppers tend to have too much ego, and again, I found there everyone is it's it's a Goldilocks syndrome. Everyone either purports to do the bare minimum, or everyone thinks that they're Walter Mitty, and it's very difficult for me to find people that are just like um, realistically cynical. You need to be a little bit cynical, but not so cynical that you think that you're going to be like Tom Hanks living on a desert island by yourself. There, like I said, there was a guy about when Argentina collapsed in the early 2000s. There was a blogger whose handle was Furful, and I have his stuff. I think he even wrote a book. His stuff was really good because he lived it.
Mm-hmm.
And imagine a partial collapse.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like right now, we have a government shutdown. Now imagine if the police department was not responding, but you still had to get up and go to work tomorrow. So it's like kind of Mad Max, but not really because there's still an economy.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the
Well, I don't
situation.
think I don't think that kind of a situation could last very long without. Uh,
It lasted like a year in Argentina, I think. I don't know exactly long enough for him to write a book about it.
I mean, here in the states, I don't think it could last. One, I don't think it could last very long, and I don't think it would last very long because I think the powers that be would see the error of that and get some shit going quick, just because they would be first on the chopping block. Hey,
Well, I
what's
mean,
up, Adrian? Long time no see, man. Fucking weirdo. One of the few I still watch because I have a tremendous amount of respect for her is Patriot Nurse. I know she
oh
can get
yeah,
real. She
she
can get
rubs me the
real.
wrong way.
I can understand that, but when it comes to and the figures and what she's good at,
Sure,
religious stuff, she's one of the best, and one that I actually can tell through
she's
various
really
sources.
preachy though.
Yeah, that can rub a lot of people the wrong way, especially if you're not, of whatever belief system. but when it comes to the skills, she's up there, and she, sure, she's trying to teach people and make money doing so. That's what she does. You know, everybody else that I've seen, with a couple of exceptions, I just, it's like, no, no, you're not, you know, you're not hitting the right notes for me.
I think it's really easy to get to that Dunning Kruger stage where you oversell your own abilities.
Yeah,
And I'm
I
not saying everyone does. I'm saying a lot of people have, and
I'm
it
very
and
jealous of you, Judd. I can't wait to get my copy of Dracula in Space. Um, yes, that's what I'm talking about. The most ridiculous. I've been watching a lot of videos lately on the sci-fi gems and band and movies from the 60s, 70s, and 80s that you can't get anymore, quote unquote, which is horseshit, or that were banned, or that you probably never heard of. Planet of the Vampires and Hardware, and things like that are just most people have never heard of. But I was looking at Planet of the Vampires. I'm like, there's a whole lot of freaking greatness in just the aesthetic of the movie that I could really see mushing into one game or another. Just you know some of that 1950s, 60s, 70s sci-fi and fantasy is very inspirational. What's up, Omen? You want the link? You know where? Well, no, it's not there actually. Just you want to come join? Let me know, and I'll get you a link. Right, right. Or like I keep hearing how what the hell is that name? God, name's right on Event Horizon.
oh,
How
Event Horizon.
you can't get it. It's missing stuff. It's been
Well,
edited.
the master is lost. I mean, lost like destroyed.
Yeah. But yet uh, there's
You can
plenty
get
of stuff.
you get the theatrical release, but you can't get the real director's cut.
That's
It does
fine.
it does
I'll
not
do everything.
exist.
Yeah. If I can't get, if there's something I can't get because nobody else can get it either, then I'm I'll be fine with that. Hold on, I'm trying to find your. Dang it! I clicked the wrong button.
See, I need a left arm,
Here you
not a
go.
right arm. That's a left arm. Doing a little kit bashing on these Mantic minis so they can get some. The minis, they're not bad. They're hard plastic, but the shoulders have a reverse socket, so I've got to literally cut that off to kit bash arms from other kits. So
Mhm.
easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
I thought it wasn't a fire, but it was kept in a salt
Yeah,
mine or
well,
something like
it's pretty
that.
common to keep prints in salt mines, but yeah, it was kept in. Yeah, it rotted away. Something. Anyway, point is it doesn't exist.
Yeah, it was destroyed in a fire or something like that. It was one of these things that, well, and I'm not going to say the director's cut the original footage, so they can't even recut it.
They can't
Um,
remaster it.
yeah, well, it's not even remastered. They can't. They don't have any other footage other than the theatrical because the original,
Exactly.
all of the footage was destroyed. So, no, I just came back from the Millennium Con, so I got to see Brian play some Twilight 2000.
How's he doing?
He's doing pretty well. He's going to be running all weekend. So I'm going to do. So I went in tonight to play some Twilight 2000. So we hit us. We hit an airfield, destroyed a couple of BMPs, blew up behind, and he's like, "Oh wow, you guys finished off early." Like, yeah, we were good. We also lucked out on the rolls, so that helped. But yeah,
Nice,
so
nice,
I
nice.
wanted to try out the new system, so I was like, "Oh, okay, it seems to make a lot of sense." And then we did tomorrow I'm probably gonna go to Goodman Games XCC crawl. So that should be hilariously ridiculous. Um,
What is that? I've never heard
Underground
of
so
it.
Classics.
yeah, so it's basically it's like DCC or MCC, but now put it into like Running Man meets Dungeon Crawl, Carl meets the Hunger Games, um, completely ridiculous, with monsters and dragons and everything else while while it's being televised, and so everyone can watch it. So they're having that tomorrow, so I'll do that, and then we'll see what happens. And then on Sunday they have the flea market, so you can buy all
Right.
sorts of games from everybody. So I was like, oh, okay. It was only like $30 for the whole weekend.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's like
I
15 minutes away, so it makes it really easy for me.
I miss those. This arm is slightly out of scale. That's
Well,
fine. It's a zombie.
I haven't been to a convention in probably more than 10 years, and yeah, I miss it
I
too.
well, we have a Comic-Con, and that's like 17,000 people go to it, even though it's a small one. But I mean but it was open during COVID, so we got a lot of people coming in just because of that reason. Which because we're the only convention that they would allow open without doing all the weird mask crap. And then,
Yeah, I'm not
and
doing
then,
that. Not
and
doing
then
that.
we and I don't like to go that one too much because it doesn't have games. That's just mostly comics and stuff. And then we have
I'm okay with that.
well, you are okay with it, but I want to go to where actually games with this Millennium Con. It's mostly miniature games with a couple of board games and a couple of role playing games. So I was like, all right, that's cool. I
How many people total do you think?
My guess is probably about. We'll see. Today was the first day, and it's only a half day. Um, my guess is probably about 300 to 500 might come.
Okay.
It's a bunch of old gamers, so all about the same age we are, playing basic elementary. Oh, they had a BattleTech one that was awesome. The buildings were almost like they dwarfed the mechs, which was nice to see them. And someone had done the 3D printing,
Uh-huh.
probably an FDM printer, and they were. I mean, we're talking. The buildings were probably a foot and a half tall in some cases. Uh,
Wow.
Yeah, on the board. Oh, that made them look really cool. And then, of course, the miniatures were probably about, an inch, inch and a half. They
Yeah.
a little bit bigger than the normal.
Well, the new ones, the new plastics are a bit bigger than the old raw part of the metals.
Yeah.
They're
Oh
not
yeah,
hugely
yeah.
bigger, but I mean, I've got a new. I was comparing a new Jenner to the old metal Jenner, and it actually, I mean, Catalyst gets a lot of crap, and their minis are made in China, but that new Jenner looks pretty good.
So I mean, but you know what I'm talking about is the average BattleTech miniature, and it was dwarfed by these buildings, which I thought was more realistic and pretty cool. So
Oh
that
yeah.
was like, oh yeah, finally, the buildings actually. And like I said, maybe I'm off. Maybe they're at least a foot, but they were at least a foot tall. And then some of them were a little bit smaller, some a little bit bigger. But I mean, as far as terrain, that was awesome. It looks so much better. And yeah, basically, it's a bunch of like I said, miniature war gamers, mostly playing historical, a few fantasy, and not really any fantasy, mostly sci-fi. But that's what you're saying. So I saw some of them were battleships and stuff, and apparently you can go to 3 events per day just because they're allocated by 4-hour blocks. So, but yeah, Brian's running a game I think once or twice, and so yeah, I just went.
You actually took time off work.
What's that?
You actually took time off work.
Yeah, apparently he worked today, but then he came in, so it sounds like he's doing only like 4 or 6 hours of work,
Okay.
for his stuff. But yeah, so I shook his hand while he was playing his stuff, and I said, "Hey, what's going over?" Oh, okay. Well, this is, and we would do the Twilight 2000. He's like, "Well, I'm not sure. We only have 3 people," and then I showed up, and then another guy showed up, and then we were just like, "All right, let's do this."
Nice.
So
cool.
yeah, and it's a new system, so that's why I was trying it out. So it's like, okay. And I think they're gonna have another one. They're gonna have a couple more out there. So the DM's trying to figure out if he wants to run the post game. Like well, what happened after you blew up the airfield? So, yes. All right. So yeah, it should be fun.
That sounds like
Yeah, it
fun.
was. That's part of the reason I did that. So, tomorrow, like I said, is I'll go in for the evening one, and we'll see about Saturday and Sunday. I'll probably go in Sunday just to see what they have for sale, and then probably the same thing tomorrow to see what the actual vendors have. But yeah,
You going to be available for Sunday's game?
I should be available for Sunday's game because I don't have any plans. I mean, unlike last week where I thought we would just be a few hours, and then it turned into like, oh, well, we're doing this. Of course, no one ever starts on time. So it just kept adding and adding up. And by the time I got home, it was 11 p.m. No, actually, I'm sorry. It was 11 p.m. by the time I left Austin. So it was like, okay, I'll get home about midnight. So sorry about that, Shadow. I thought that we would.
No worries. With Armstrong out also, kind of sucks. What do you call it? There will be no Star Wars game because George has got family obligations, which also sucks. But this time of year, it's really rough. I'm trying to tell folks, hey, from between now and you know Valentine's
Yeah.
Day almost, it's you're going to get a lot of cancellations.
Oh,
Just go with the flow and do other stuff, and
I know.
rest of the
I've
year
got the concert next weekend. Weekend after that, I'm going to Houston. Weekend after that, we'll be traveling to my parents, and then we'll be there for a few weekends, and then we'll head back. So then, basically Thanksgiving. So yeah, and we'll see. But yeah, overall, I think it's. But I know it's too busy. That's one of the reasons I kind of like West Marches was the idea that hey, you show up, you play. If you don't, if you can get a big enough group, But that's the hard part is once like you said, everyone starts either getting kicked out, dropping out, or life comes into it. And
Yeah, I had a player this morning have to drop out of my Wednesday game, which sucks because 2 out of the 4 people have dropped out of that Savage Swords game, and I'm
that
like,
sucks.
kind of hard to run a game with only 2
Yeah.
people.
I
But
don't think it's as hard during a skill-based game to do it as much. But I agree with you. Is two just feels not right.
yeah, it really it's just that, and the 2 people that I have are really getting into it. And so I'm not gonna I'm gonna see if we can make it work until we find a third or a fourth or a seventh. Hey Janet, uh, nice to see you again. It's hard, it's gonna happen. We're all in our certain age bracket, and we have stuff. So what's a GM to do? Just
You mean the age bracket where you're basically not in college?
well, yeah, or high school.
I mean,
or
yeah,
what-
I mean that was the time that you had all the time in the world to seemingly do that crap, and now it's like no, or you just have other things coming up. It's just that's why I try saying, hey, I'll try showing up in this time or not. It's just like I let my other, my X game. I told him, hey, I'm going to be at the convention this weekend, so.
Yeah, I mean, in my situation, I've been picking up overtime because I like to pay for Christmas and not finance it.
Well, yeah. Well, you know what though is, I thank God my son is cheap, and we'll see. We'll see when I get paid again.
My boy's the same way. I have to ask him like 6 months before Christmas. What would you like for Christmas? It's like I don't care.
Well,
Like
yeah.
I mean, I love him to death, but you have to, you got to give the old guy a break. I mean, how am I gonna,
Well. You look at more stuff. I'm like, okay, what do you want, son? And then he's like, well, I'd like to have this. I said, okay, show me on Amazon where it is, and I'll order it, or whatever. Sometimes he. So I mean, but a lot of stuff he asks is very technical. I want this with this and this and this and this. I said, okay, you give me the link, I'll buy you one. And we're talking, especially when it comes to electronics. Like, all right, what type of solar panel charger do you want? What type of ballast do you want? No, I mean he does it. What type of clamp meter? He's like, well, what's my my spending limit? And then I buy him stuff that I think he might like a couple of books. Like, I think he's going to love Dungeon Crawler Carl, which I've been enjoying a lot. It's completely ridiculous. It's brain mush reading, but it's so much fun. Uh, but I think he'll love those kind of books. Um, yeah, yeah. So we'll see. Which reminds me, on our when are we going to do another? The book club thing.
I honestly don't know because Grandma's been RPG. Grandma's been sick off and
Really?
on and busy and stuff. I'm kind of thinking that I'm going to either hold off until the beginning of the year and start a whole new thing. Give me some time to recruit some people who want to actually talk about, Beowulf, Gilgamesh, the classics that should have been in Appendix N
Oh,
but weren't.
oh, well, yeah. I mean, I'll mention one thing because I was listening to. I don't know if you've listened to the Daddy Volta 1 when he was doing all of the demons and stuff under first edition.
Yeah, I watched him for the Arduin thing, and he just I didn't vibe with his particular style. He seemed kind of a certain way to me. Oh, hey Janet, you like reading books?
But
You like talking about books? Want to join a book club?
but 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 no, he was going over all of the, which he did a really good job. Is like what?
Oh, I know. He just I couldn't picture me and him like hanging out in real life together and getting along. So I just you
I don't
know
know. It's just like
I'm still subscribed to him, and he's thorough,
yes.
but there's just something,
Like I said,
you know.
is if you listen to what he was talking about, well, part of it was because I was starting to listen, which these are things I probably should have listened in high school and just never did, but it was going through the
Mhm.
Iliad, and then the other one was Paradise Lost. Um,
Right.
and Paradise Lost, I have to do an
I
audiobook for
have a
that
copy
one.
of that somewhere.
Um, well, they mentioned Demogorgon, Orcus, and a few others, and they're going through that. But as I was listening to it,
The
yeah,
classics,
well,
like we were talking
but
about,
I
Janet.
can't, but I can't read it because of the spelling. But to have someone actually say it out loud, I'm like, oh, I understand this perfectly. Um, I was like, okay, that sounds pretty cool. And then, talk about other books. We got the 1001 Nights. Um,
Arabian
yeah, the
Nights.
Arabian Nights. I got like 3 Penguin books that have all the stories in them. Um, oh, okay. So I mean, there's a lot of that can.
Yeah, the stuff we probably should have read in high school and college, Janet, but probably didn't, or maybe you did. The Once and Future King, uh, like I said, Beowulf, all the old, really old classic fantasy or what they called romance literature of hundreds of years
I,
ago.
I I can't do King Arthur again. I did. I read it once. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah, I do want to make Charlemagne one of the first ones because I have it somewhere, and I mean I've literally had it for like 30 years and never read it. Like I did the same thing with
Yeah.
Dying Earth. I had the book for 30, almost 40 years, never freaking read it. The day I read it, I'm like, oh my God, where have you been all my life? I love this freaking
I
book.
need to finish it off because I have the I guess the kind of the omnibus that has 3 of them together. So they have the first Dying Earth and
Mm-hmm.
then the other 2 stories. I also got the Heroes. What is that one called? The Unforsaken Hero. Um,
Okay, yeah. That's probably the next one we'll do, just because to finish it off.
and we'll
Um,
see because the it was apparently done by his goddaughter did the third one.
right, I thought it was his
It's
daughter. I definitely want that one when it comes out, just to see because it's the closest we're gonna get, and I hope she doesn't pull like a Christopher Tolkien kind of thing. But
well,
what are you gonna do?
Christopher Tolkien
Brian
and
Herbert.
Herbert. Um, they gather the notes and try doing the best that they can, but they're not the same level of writing. I
Mhm.
found out apparently, what is it, Sterling Lanier? He apparently had
Yeah.
been in a car wreck, and that's why he never finished off the series.
Yeah, I heard he was like really, really messed up.
But I
That ended not only his career but almost his
right,
life.
right. But I'm saying, but it, the first book came out, and then it was like 8 or 10 years later, the second book came out, and then I guess he had in the park or something. But I was like, okay, but still, I think it was worth reading. I can see definitely where Gygax took a lot of stuff from. Um,
Yeah.
and if you're going to do Tolkien, I say that we don't do Lord of the Rings. We do Farmer Giles of Ham.
Maybe or did he do Sir Gawain's
He
Green
did.
Knight
I
as
read that
well?
one. I thought it was a better translation myself, but that's just a
Mhm.
biased opinion. It may not be the more pure translation, but it was very readable.
But to be brutally honest, if I don't touch Tolkien at all, I'm okay
I
with
just
it.
I just meant if we're
Um,
going to do something outside of it and say, okay, look, Tolkien wrote more than just Lord of the Rings.
yeah. And to be honest, if I was going to do anything Tolkien, I wouldn't even do Tolkien. I would just do Board of the Rings because that book, I literally read Board of the Rings before I read The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings because I saw it on the shelf at my local, believe it or not, movie poster
Yeah.
store and Price's Cinema Shop back in Anaheim. And I saw it. I'm like, okay, I've heard of Lord of the Rings. Everybody's telling me I should read Lord of the Rings. And here's a parody of it, like 121 pages or something. I read the first page that intro
Yeah.
page that, is supposed to give you a little blurb of what it's like. And I'm like, as a 13, 12-year-old kid, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm getting a little hot and bothered here. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to buy this. And it turns out that page is not even in the actual any part of the other rest of the book. It was just they do exactly what it did. You read this page and you're like, oh my god, this sounds pretty risque. I'm gonna grab this, and then that scene is not in the actual story, and I get suckered. It was freaking awesome. I had Jackie read that page, and he couldn't.
Well,
He had to put it down. Like,
I've got a bunch of books I just haven't finished that aren't even. I still got the Michael Moorcock one I need to finish.
what's up,
I need
Bear?
to get the Arabian Nights. I need to get those. I need to
I
get
think I
the,
want that as
the
well.
Dying Earth.
Why
Um,
not?
I just the Dying Earth series. It's like 600 or 700 pages, but it's been forever to take me into what's it called? The just the mentality of getting back into reading for 2 or 3 hours a day. Um,
I'm telling you, that's why I did the Bram Stoker's challenge. Just read 13 pages a day.
well,
I just
you were doing that while in the meantime I was trying to finish the Sterling Lanier, which I did, which I was reading about 60 to 100 pages a day at that point, and then
yeah. I was trying just to get some of my
oh yeah,
my other viewers who don't read regularly. I probably read 200 pages a day.
I
Um, I I'm reading Dracula, Frankenstein, the Tomb of Dracula omnibus, and the Red Sonja paperback
okay.
books. They're all at the same freaking time.
I try doing
So
one chapter a day if possible, and that's usually
mhm.
depending on how long the chapter is, and that's usually that seems to be
Yeah,
the other part is
just
if I can switch up between books. Like I said, is I flew through the Dungeon Crawler Carl books. I'm on book 6 now, and I started probably a month ago, and they're like 600 pages each for the 6 books. The
okay.
newest book's 800. The book previous was 700. The first book was like 450, 500 or something. So like, but it's like, it's ridiculous. It is so they take a lot of the tropes from video games. It's probably not going to age well because there are a lot of modern references to things, um,
Right.
like music and things like that, which are like, oh, okay, or they'll reference like movies or television shows. I was like, that's fine, but just sitting back and if you just want a book to let your mind kind of rot and just have fun with, like go for it. it and apparently he sold 3 million copies of his book, so it's doing great for him.
Okay, you two, settle
Yeah.
down.
So yeah, that's
Janet and Bear.
yep, that's right. Well, but no, I know, but I'm so used to reading RPG books, and I'm only like, okay, I'll read like 10 or 20 pages. and now we'll just go play. So that's and we'll see. Like I said,
I have no time
well, you still have children at home. Kick
and
those little
many responsibilities.
just kick those little fuckers out. They'll be fine. I told my son that one time when he said he didn't want to do his lessons. He was like, I can't remember, he was like 6 or 7. I was like, okay, it's time for you to leave home then, because you obviously aren't learning anything from your parents. It's best that you just go off into the world because we're holding you back.
Yeah.
and he thought about it for a while. I was like, well, I don't want to leave home. I said, well, then you better do your lessons because you're telling me you have nothing to learn here. So we're holding you back. He's like, okay, I'll do my lessons. Like, yeah, I'm not going to. You need to go out and have your chance for adventure, son. Anyway, he was. But yeah, that he's not like that's. But yeah. Anyway, there's a lot
Where
to it.
is?
I've been watching a little bit of anime. I need to cancel that. Bo, you still are you considered exempt or mission essential?
Oh no, we're working. I'm a front end employee at the VA. They're not going to close down the VA.
No. That's not my point. Because I was asking if you were exempt, which means you still get paid, or if you're just mission
Yeah,
essential.
no, I'm getting paid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Judd, don't.
Well, the reason I'm
only on
asking is
page
because
40.
I'm accepted but not exempt, which means I have to wait until they reopen government to get paid. There's a difference between the two for payment.
I think there are a whole lot of the medical world is neither fish nor fowl because we're federal employees, but we're still like nursing staff and doctors, so we don't know about that kind of stuff.
Okay,
We
well,
just
I'm
know
just
that
asking
it's like,
because
yeah, I got paid last Friday morning, and I expect to get paid a week from tomorrow.
I'm saying what a lot of times do is they just hold it until they reopen government. So that's why I was asking where you file into it. Because
Right.
like for me, I got paid for the last time because we got for 3 days for exempt, but then they moved me to accepted, which just
Right.
means that I'm supposed to be working or at least be on call, but I can't, but I don't get paid till they reopen government. So that's what I was asking.
I think that that's the thing, because I think there are a whole lot of nurses and doctors that would say, we're not getting paid.
No. You're getting paid. It's just delayed. That's
No.
all.
Yeah, I understand that, but we have. I mean, I've just heard horror stories about people in Northern Virginia and D.C. like having to go to food banks because they're not getting paid.
Well, you know what? I'll be honest. Those people are. This is not something new for government, dude. Save a month's worth of salary or 2 months. It's not that
Sure.
unusual.
Oh,
This has been going. Oh
this is
yeah,
exactly what I was talking about with Shadow when we're talking about preparations. I
yeah.
think that having a month's worth of, I mean, it doesn't have to be liquid, but if you had like a high yield savings account or something like that where you could access the money,
Yeah.
but you had a few months worth of basic liquidity, put away,
Oh yeah.
where you could at least meet your basic needs, where you could make your mortgage payment, your car payment, your insurance payments. Even if you had to cut down on your discretionary spending, you would be fine until the
Right.
reopening.
Well, and that's what always gets me is when I start hearing this. I said, most people I know have a couple of months usually. It's just one of these things that.
What's up, Bexar?
But yeah, I just find it one of these weird things. That's like, this is not unusual. Government does this a lot, and
Right.
what really bugs me about the whole thing is it's a game right now because what they could do is just force the filibuster. It's
Sure.
like, okay, go ahead and force the filibuster because Cloture just says it takes 60 votes to shut down discussion. But guess what? You can let them keep discussing, and when they all had their turn, you only get one turn up there. Once they're all done, that's what they did with the Civil Rights Act. Then you vote. Like it's not that hard. And when they're like, "Oh no, they did this," I said, "No, that just tells me the reality of it is that you guys want to play this game." And it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't bother me one way or the other because if this goes long enough, I got leave coming up in November, so when government reopens, I'll be off anyway.
Right.
Nice.
I've got a ton of annual leave that I haven't taken.
Yeah.
But we've had our own problems with at the VAMC that I can't really get into.
Yeah.
I have not been in the subject of any investigations, but we have had a number of staff detailed, including one position.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and it's our morale right now is pretty freaking low.
Well, the reason I was asking is I know some of them are paid. Some of our people, like I was paid for the first 3 days of the shutdown because they said, "Oh, we have funding, and you guys are exempt." With out of what 7,000, there were 250 of us, and then they said, "Oh, hold on here." Like, fine, well, just do whatever you're gonna do. It was just the thing is, they still want me to do some work. I'm like, damn it, you know. You know how demoralizing it is watching everyone else off, and you're like, okay, I get to go into work.
Oh, right. No, they obviously they aren't gonna furlough any frontline staff, but
Yeah,
like you
yeah.
said, they could do like the air traffic controllers and have you work and just not get paid.
Well, it happens. Most of them are like, we're missing one or two paychecks. I'm like, okay, fine. Then they pay you back, and it's like, all
Right. No,
right.
yeah, you always get back pay, but
Yeah, well, that's by law now. It used to be that they didn't have to. Um,
yeah,
they
yikes.
always did, but it wasn't by law. They passed a law that says no, they will. So, but yeah, it's just one of these things. Like, okay, but I know people are in the private sector that you know they aren't sure if they get paid at all. In certain cases, or oh, by the way, the company went bankrupt and we have no money to pay you ever.
I know when I first started nursing, I worked for a company for a while where, see if I can put this delicately, we were trying to cash our paychecks instead of depositing our paychecks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because
Oh
if you
yeah.
deposit it, then you might not, they might take the money back.
Oh
But
yeah.
what we would do is we would get the paycheck and we would take it to the bank on which it was drawn
Yes.
and say, "Can I cash this?"
Yeah.
And they might look at the account and say, "No, there's insufficient funds. Come back tomorrow."
Oh
And
yeah.
we'd come back tomorrow with our checks and say, "Can we cash this?" And yeah, you can cash it. So we would cash the paycheck.
Yeah, that's a
They
whole
we
that's why when people talk about this, they're like, man, look, I know I'll get paid eventually. So, but yeah, I'm trying to think of,
Good.
I'm trying to think of what else is going on for games. You're talking about stuff, Shadow, and I was like, all right, but yeah, just the way things worked out, we'll have to do the Alien game at some point. Um,
Hmm.
but if that may be at the beginning of the year or something like that.
Yeah, you can't be a hard ass about it this time of year. I mean, you can, but you'll find
You get no players.
your table. Yeah, yeah.
There's a certain point, like you said, is it's usually not too bad in October. November starts getting up, but yeah, once you're about 6 weeks out from Christmas, it's like kind of forget it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do have a lot of
Oh,
writing to catch up
speaking
on, and
speaking of
yeah.
which, did you get your Lankmar book or the box set?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I got. I now have the both Dying Earth boxes, the Lankmar box set, the Lankmar book, and then I've got to go through the Dungeon Crawl Classics and the Dungeon Mutant Crawl Classics uh, slipcase, whatever's. But I got to tell you, both those books, the Dying Earth and not Dying Earth, Mutant Crawl Classics and Dungeon Crawl Classics, I find that art absolutely awful and annoying at the
It
same time.
does. I actually like, even though it's the same type of art for XCC, because they do. It's mostly
Mhm.
tongue in cheek because it's
Well, no, it literally looks juvenile and awful
no. I'm not
to me.
disagreeing with you on that. What I'm saying is, but for the XCC, they did. It's much more tongue in cheek with humorous,
Uh,
because it's intended to be like if you ever saw the movie Running Man, it's meant to be
uh-huh.
satirical of all the stuff.
I had the same problem though with the comic book that's in the beginning of Savage Swords.
Yeah.
I hated it. I'm like, this is crap. I could have done better in the eighth grade.
Oh,
This is just it's just
well,
trash.
to be fair, a lot of
Um,
the first edition stuff was pretty much,
I know, I
especially the
know.
white box. I'm like, okay, fine, you're going for. Oh, I agree with you. The thing is, I will admit this much: it was fairly cheap for their books, which I liked, and I was like, okay, as long as I'm willing to
Oh yeah.
take it. Again, certain things bother me. I'm not disagreeing with you at all for the art, but I was like, okay, it's playable. Let me see. That's why I'm going to go do the stuff tomorrow because they're having the funnel for the XCC stuff, and I thought that was kind of cool. And then we'll find out, and I'll see about the Dying Earth. The Dying Earth, I didn't think the art was too bad.
Nerdy, you never sent me the info. I told you I'd take
Oh,
a
which one?
look. Nerdy's going to be running a Dead Rain one shot.
Oh,
He's looking for players, and I told him, hey, send me some info.
I don't like Palladium. I don't like the Palladium system. So that's my only issue. Is I say that even though I backed the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle
That was
Kickstarter.
the last Kickstarter I backed too.
Yeah, well, I got all of the books, so I spent a lot more. And then one of my friends, he's helped me out a bunch, and he's given me stuff for free and things like that. So I was like, "Hey, dude, let me go get you And I looked at the green foil cover. I'm like, so whenever that comes in, hopefully I'll come in the next. Hopefully when I'm not on vacation, but I'll give him those foil books. But I'm like, oh, okay. Again, some of it's okay. I just don't. Some Palladium, I got burned out on it.
You wanted me on Discord?
Who is this? Oh,
Nerdy. I didn't see anything.
he added you on Discord,
I'll
so
look
he
at
gave
it.
you a link to it.
Okay, I'll have to look again, but I highly recommend you do whatever you did again. Just in
No, I think
case.
he just did it. So is what I'm saying.
All
Oh,
right.
oh,
I
okay. Because I
think
did not
I
see.
smell supper upstairs.
That's okay because I kind of
Yeah.
planned on popping out
And
about this time.
I have picked up a shift tonight, Omen.
Okay.
Nice.
Well, no, not nice. The
Also,
reason I picked up shifts is because I anticipate I might need the money.
Oh well.
And
No,
if
no.
there's
It's no.
overtime available now,
you
I
grab it.
grabbing overtime, and especially an 8-hour shift because hospitals typically run on 12-hour shifts, but the VA is set up structurally to run on 3 8-hour shifts, even though most nurses run what they call a compressed schedule,
Right. Yeah.
which is 3 12s and then one extra 8 per pay period to make 80 hours.
Okay.
But so if you're used to working 12-hour shifts, an 8-hour shift from 11 to 7:30, 23 to 7:30 is like standing on your head. It's so easy because I'm used to running 12s, and 8 is like, oh, you're going to pay me time and a half for this?
That's awesome,
Freaking
man.
don't twist my arm.
No, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Well,
how have you enjoyed?
I'm going to be going over to. I believe I'm going over to Connell's show in an hour or so, maybe even less. I'm going to invite you all to do the same, whether he likes it or not.
Oh, tell that fat bastard I'll come and see him. I get
I
along
will
I
do
get
that.
along with him like peas and carrots.
Oh, you mean stuff that I won't touch?
Yes.
Well, there's no counter for human taste. I'm saying is that Connell and I, as coarse as he is, we have always gotten along well.
I know.
Mhm.
I find him
Yeah.
I find him pleasantly unpleasant.
Uh-huh. Every once in a while, he'll literally like after a show or something like, "Are we good?" I'm like, "Dude, little brother, of course we are."
Yeah.
You know, just shut up. We're
We don't
family.
call you okay. I found out that the Crayola modeling magic does not stick well to plastic.
Okay.
I'm using it for basic material, but it does not. Maybe I should put
That's
some.
what you get for using a product that says Crayola. Just saying.
Well, it's basically it's a floamy modeling clay, and I'm
Okay.
building bases
Okay.
for
They look good.
for some bigger model kits, and I want some. I'm trying to do Mars, so I'm gonna.
Nice. That reminds me, I gotta order some Bronze Age miniatures. I
So
love
these
those
are.
fucking miniatures.
This is the one that's ready to paint.
Okay. Cool. That's good.
It's
I was gonna say, that color actually works
yeah,
with
right, but it
Mars.
needs to be painted. So I'll
Okay.
prime it black, I'll zenithal it gray, and then I'll base coat it orange. Well, dark red, and then dry brush it lighter red. Build up some highlights, paint the skulls.
You know what I do for my Mars? You might want to look. I actually use the Army Painter Dry Rust, I think it's
I,
called.
I
Here,
have
let me
I
see.
have so many. I just picked up a couple of reds. This one I no. This is AK Interactive
Yeah.
medium rust. It's darker. That I would use for the
Yeah.
dry brushing for sure. I don't think I would. I think it's too light for the base coat.
What I do is I do that. I hit it with that color. Then I actually hit it with a red wash, Army Painter red wash, and then I go back over it and dry brush it. Uh,
I do have a darker.
with
I have a Vallejo wash that's a bit darker.
No, I mean it's blood red wash. Just because I want it to look kind of cartoony. I use it for all my sci-fi miniatures from Star Schlock because I want it to look like ridiculous.
Well,
Mars, not
I
like
picked the
realistic.
red because I wanted to contrast well for the this army that I'm doing is all dark green and bone. Oh, this is the color scheme.
Hmm.
So I want something that would really, I want to really draw the attention to the minis, not the bases. So
Right.
I thought a Mars red would contrast well, and I'm just using bark. This is just a bag of orchid bark. Picked up for like $8 on Amazon.
Okay.
It's used for potting. It's used for potting orchids, and it's not expensive. It sounds bougie, but it's not expensive. And then the green slime and the green toxic rust will contrast. And then when I'm done, I go over it with a coarse texture medium over all the smooth pieces. And then I'm sure I'll put some kitty litter and sand before I prime it. And then bones. For bones, check it out for dirt cheap. You get a box of War Games Atlantic skeletons, the whole skeletons. Don't buy a box of skulls because I got bones and I got legs and I got
Yeah. Hold on. I'm on a different screen because I was looking at my instructions. Let me see the box. That's the same box I think Jack got me for. It was either Christmas or Father's Day a
yeah.
couple
I
of
just
years
cut
ago.
them up.
Is that the one? Is it the one where you have to literally like put the feet on
No,
the legs?
no,
Okay, okay, maybe I'm thinking of something else
no. And
because it looks like it.
the bones
It
are a
was
little
for
chunky, but they're dirt cheap. It's like they,
yeah. I know it's War Games Atlantic because I saw on the sprue where it's got that little recess where the sprues stack
yeah,
like
yeah. I hate
properly.
that.
I love
Uh,
that. That you hate
well, I
that?
mean, because
Why?
when I have them out of the box, I want them to be as squished down as possible.
Oh, okay. It was for one of their miniature war games, like a fantasy war game, and because I just told him, I need a box of just generic skeletons, and he was like 12 or 13, and he tracked it down on I don't even know
Yeah,
where,
there was
maybe
another
Amazon.
company that did another English company did skeletons a while back, but they're out of print now. And I was actually looking for those when I bought these. But and then I've been using
It
some of the
was
arms on my zombies too. Um, some of the bone arms and bone legs kit bash well for skeletons.
it was
The only one I mean I can't use the archer guy obviously, and I can't use the shield arms, but and there's one like beast skull per sprue that's supposed to be for a banner. It's like a goat skull, but it makes great ground effects. Just drop it just drop it wherever it lands. Hit it with some ultra thin super glue, and then a little basing binder, and then it's it. It's not going anywhere.
it was literally I want to say it was like literally one of the only times I can remember in a good long time that I was actually like surprised Christmas. I think it was. I think it was our how we do the night before Christmas. giveaway thing, where he and I exchange a
Yeah, yeah,
gift.
yeah.
It freaking blew my mind. I was like totally not even expecting it.
No, yeah, but so yeah, if anybody, all you
It was
gamers
awesome.
out there, if you're looking for obviously skeletons, but if you're looking for bones to scatter for terrain bits, yeah, just if you have a sharp pair of nippers like some god hands or maybe some red red grass, um, you can just cut the bones off the skeletons and just you got plenty of dried bones. Dirt cheap. I just want to get this stuff off my desk.
Hmm.
I'm so overwhelmed right now. Uh, oh well. I think perfect is the enemy of good enough. Because I've got these guys weathered pretty good, but I've got to go back with some verdigris on the metal, and then after that, I think they're done. I did make some blood effects with Uhu glue.
Never heard of.
It's like a. I've got a tube of it over here. It's like a German. It's a clear glue comes in a toothpaste tube, and you just put a dot of it where you want it to go and let it string, and then when it's mostly dry, hit it with some red paint. Makes like the gore. I need a little bit
Oh
more
no,
so I
okay,
can show you on the camera.
gotcha.
It's kind of shiny.
That's pretty creepy looking.
Yeah, he needs a little bit more, but I kind of did it in a way. I need a little bit more just dripping off the claw. And it's not expensive either. You buy a tube that'll last you 100 years. You just put a little bit on a toothpick and then just stretch it. I get all these ideas from watching videos for effects, and then I think, I hope someday I'll actually get to use them all. There. Ooh. Ooh.
Never heard of it.
On Amazon. I'm pretty sure it's like got that oil base, like Shugu.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, that's pure oil. That'll rot some brain cells. All right.
All right, guys, I'm gonna call it and do some things I got to take care of real quick before Connell wants to do his thing. You guys have a great weekend. If I don't see you, that was quick, Bo. I wanted to actually talk to you a minute after the show, but okay, fine, be that way. Um, Oben, I hope you have a
Sure.
great time. Say hi to Brian for me, and I guess I will see you Saturday, or maybe I'll hear from you.
Probably.
In
Well, I don't
my
know what you're doing Saturday. So probably, I guess, it would be Sunday. Unless we're doing
yeah, yeah.
something Saturday that I'm not aware of.
I don't know what I'm doing Saturday yet. I might just take the night off because I haven't had one in a while.
Yeah,
But we'll
go
see.
relax. Go watch a movie. Yeah.
Yeah, if Solomon Kane comes in, then I'm going to make it a double feature. Solomon Kane and the Creature from the Black Lagoon.
I know you love Creature
I'll
from
be
Black
doing.
Lagoon. I won't say as much. I liked Solomon Kane, um, but it was one of those right along with Judge Dredd that I knew about and I could not find it, and then I found that it was like a few years old after the fact. I was like, oh, there's a
Mm-hmm.
Solomon Kane. Anyway, I thought it was okay. I liked the beginning of it. I thought I thought it was really strong at the beginning. Um, Later on, it's okay, but it's an enjoyable movie. I don't think it.
I like the actor a
Yes.
lot. He played Cantos Can in John
Yeah.
Carter, and that was it. It's like, okay, I don't care what he does unless he's diddling kids. I can officially say I like this actor, just because he got that part and he was great at that as that character. But yeah, I'm gonna go do some grown up stuff. I will. I'll see you guys all in the morning because I got a video I'm going to record in just a bit. That's part of what I got to do so that there's a video in the morning for you folks. Everybody out there in TV land, have a great weekend. Love you guys.